Hello and welcome to episode 1175 of The Sleeper and the Bust. It is Monday, May 15th. I'm your host, Paul Sporer, joined this afternoon by Justin Mason. Justin, good day, sir.
Good day to you. It is not morning. It is
No,
afternoon.
you got it right, though.
How
How was
you
your
doing?
weekend? I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right, man. Solid week in the main. Going to talk about my team a little bit today. Try not to make everything about my team, but give some updates based on some of these players I picked up that we're going to go over and see if we can make some moves, man. How about you? I know you had an even bigger week, so there's going to be a little bit of our team focus today, but how was your weekend overall?
I did something that I've never done before this weekend with Danielle, and it was so
Congratulations on the
cool.
sex.
Yeah, we smashed. We went to a smash room.
Oh,
Have you-
that's cool. How's that? I've never been,
It
but that
it
sounds
was
so cool.
so fun.
Yeah,
It
that
was.
sounds dope.
Yeah, I took her out. I took her out in the city. Totally surprised her. She didn't know what we were doing. She's been a little angsty recently, so I was like, you know what? Why don't we go destroy some shit?
That's
And
good.
we did. I messed up my back swinging a sledgehammer.
That's what I'm
Um,
afraid of. Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly that
I
with
was
my
fine
weekends.
during and even after, and
The
then
adrenaline's pumping.
yesterday, I was having back spasms, and I was like, "What the hell is going on? Why am I having back spasms?" Daniel's like, "Well, because you swung a sledgehammer for like 30 straight minutes." I was like, "Oh,
Correct.
that okay, that makes sense." So I
But
feel better today.
y'all felt better after doing it. Like
Yeah,
it
it was
had
so
some
cool.
desired
Yeah.
effect. That sounds really neat. I like
Mm-hmm.
that. Sometimes I want to do that after my pitchers started. You needed it after the week your
Oof.
pitchers had, which is why you made some big moves that we're going to get into. Let's talk a couple roster moves real quick here. And there could be some other things that happen after the show, by the way, like if Seager and Altuve are activated as they might be, just know that at the time of our recording, neither has been. In fact, speaking of news, this is why we're always refreshing Anthony Rendon to the 10-day IL.
Shocking.
Huge
Shocking.
surprise there. I'm certain of it. We can start with that real quick with Anthony Rendon. If I recall correctly, and I don't have him anywhere. It's like the first year in a decade that I gave up and just said, you know what, I'm going to go elsewhere with my third base. He's been playing pretty well. Only one homer, but two steals, 301, 415, 369. So you can see that lack of power coming through in the paltry slugging rate. But the average and OBP for Rendon have been great. Are you holding the 33-year-old in shallower formats? It's a groin injury that puts him on the IL here. What do you think of Anthony Rendon as a 10 and 12 team hold?
No, I am not. If you listen to any of the pods earlier in draft season, I was not in on Rendon, mostly because I didn't even know what he was at this point of his career. Like, it's
Did
just so hard
just
to even
Yeah, what
have
are we
any
dealing with?
clue. I
Yep.
mean, dude has just not been healthy, and we're really thinking at this point in his career that he's going to stay healthy. And yeah, it doesn't sound like an overly serious issue, but
No, but it's always
I
something.
yeah, and I'm sure he's one of those guys who could just pick up back up off the waiver wire if and when he is healthy. So
Yeah,
why hold him for in 2 weeks or maybe longer?
perhaps
Uh,
longer. Yeah.
yeah, when you can, pick up someone else, get production, and then if you want, go back to him.
What about
But
15s though? No, let's just say you're lucky right now. You have no other issues, or say one. Say you got one stud. You got Seager. He's on his way back, or even somebody who's out a little bit longer. You got one hold. 15 team. Let's go the NFBC route real quick. So
hmm
there's no ILs. You're down to 6 reserves already. Would you hold Rendon, or are you picking up somebody like, here's a couple examples on my waiver wire: Edmundo Sosa, Rodolfo Castro, Zach McKinstry, Joey Wendell. Any of them coming on your team over Rendon?
I'm picking up all those guys over.
Okay,
Like, I
okay.
think Wendell's the only question mark for me, but
And he's a
Sosa.
cut. He's a cut down. They were 60, 55, 55, 26 were the roster rates for those four, with
Yeah,
Wendell being the lowest.
I think I would rather get the production. I think,
Yeah,
it's while it's harder to find guys on a 15 team wire, it's
not as
even
much
more
offense. You know that.
important to get those at bats and those
Yep.
plate appearances. So I like McKinstry a lot. Like, I picked up McKinstry, especially because he's triple eligible or maybe even
Yeah,
quadruple eligible at
I
this point.
actually cut him, and that's why he's available in my league. It was for a 5-day week.
Mm-hmm.
I think I can get him back next week. And I picked up Brendan Donovan. I don't see a whole lot of difference between them, to be honest.
I don't either. I don't mind that.
But give me the guy who's playing ostensibly on a better team right now. I know overall, right this minute, that is not the case. The Tigers are better than the Cards, and I think
shocking.
pretty easily, by the way, by record. 18-21 versus 16-25. But I know my team well enough to know that Brendan Donovan's on the better team. So he's triple eligible as well. So I wouldn't have cut McKinstry if it wasn't for another super eligible guy. But yeah, I'm with you. I think Rendon is name value. And if you do cut him in a 15, some people will be like, oh shit, Rendon's available. Then they'll go look and be like, oh, this is why.
That's why.
Available.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, we'll close the book on that. Let's move on to the ones we did have on our notes. Matt McLain coming up for the Reds for your boy TJ Friedl going to the IL. I'm sorry for that. I'm surprised you had a good weekend, even though TJ Friedl went on the IL. But it's not expected to be a major issue. Hopefully he's okay back in a couple weeks. But Matt McLain is an interesting prospect. He's one of about 412 last count middle infield prospects for the Reds. And I think he might be the worst defensive of the bunch, so he'll probably move off quicker than the others, with guys like Edwin Arroyo, Noelvi Marte, and Elly De La Cruz coming up behind him eventually. But what do you think of Matt McLain coming up for the Reds? Because he's the guy up right now, and he's the one who's going to get some PT at the aforementioned shortstop.
He's an interesting guy. I'm surprised that this is the route they went, though. I really would have thought that maybe they would bring up Elly De Cruz or Encarnacion Strand, who've both been.
Just quickly on CES, Christian Encarnacion Strand, he doesn't play short. So then who are you playing there? Because they're putting McLain in at short, but then you have to play Jose Barrero. Where are you playing Strand? Encarnacion Strand, sorry.
You
CES.
play him at third and move Senzel back to the outfield. I mean, DH,
Yeah, they're playing a lot of Senzel at third. I guess Kevin Newman doesn't have to play. I would agree with that.
Kevin Newman can play short.
That's true, too. Yeah, but he has a 56 WRC+. plus. He should not be playing.
Yeah, he shouldn't be playing.
Anyway, your point is well taken about McLain. However, yeah, Encarnacion Strand and Elly De La Cruz are getting the interest right now because CES is hitting mad homers and De La Cruz is breaking StatCast with the hard hits that he's doing. But for McLain's part, at AAA, 38 games, 12 homers, 10 steals with a killer slash line and wonderful skills, a .85 walk to strikeout ratio, almost 1-to-1, which is brilliant. So what do you think of McLain? I understand you're surprised at him getting the first call, but now that he has, are you intrigued?
I'm intrigued if he's going to play every day. If he's one of those guys that doesn't have like a huge carrying tool in fantasy necessarily, but does not just a little bit of everything, but a good amount of everything.
Yeah.
And so like he could be, especially in that ballpark, a guy that hits, 15 to 20 home runs and steals 15 to 20 bases, with a palatable average. Like that is really, really interesting, but he needs to play every day. And my concern with the Reds is that he's going to come up and play 3 or 4 days a week. And then that really taps that output because he doesn't have that one thing that he does really, really well to overcome that. So
yeah, McLain's loaded with 55s across his profile. And the only thing I would say to the counter, though, is they don't have lefties to like platoon him. McLain's a righty. Their entire bench, Barrero, Newman included, are righties. So at least he's not facing an obvious platoon situation. So McLain will have, for us in NFBC, we'll have a week to assess because he wasn't available. He's going to get this whole week because he's not even technically up yet. What do you need to see this week to be interested? Obviously, a wonderful week would make you interested. But what do you need to see that isn't great but is solid enough for you to be like, okay, I'm in here?
I want to see him playing more days than not. I want to see him.
Just the PT.
They have a 6-game week. I want to see him playing 4 or 5 games.
I'm with that.
So that's I do not care. Like, I mean, the whole like Casey Schmitt and people and I got Casey Schmitt in a couple leagues, but like I didn't spend a whole lot where I got him. But like people like going crazy over his 2 home runs is like that doesn't mean anything to me. What means something to me is that he's going to play every day, and I do think Schmidt's going to play every day. But my main question on Matt McLain is, if he's playing every day, I think he's going to be very productive. Like I said, I think he's got some pop, and I think the pop is probably the weakest of his tools, but in that ballpark, it should play well. Not to mention they're going to freaking Colorado to start this week.
And they're going to be home
So,
for a lot, too. Remember, I
yeah.
highlighted that last week about my Cincinnati guys, and, Will Myers' clock's ticking, but you get to go to Coors. You get a bunch of home games here.
Yeah.
It's time to see something from your Cincinnati guys that you've been waiting on. And if they don't, then
So
you
the
start
perfect
making
time for
moves.
TJ Friedl to go on the FNIL. I mean,
That is the
unreal.
worst, man,
Like,
because he could have taken off. And he's been good. 3 homers, 4 steals, 115 OPS plus, but he could have jumped up a level.
I have carpal tunnel from the amount of teams I had to click him out of the starting lineup.
I believe it. That's your guy. You went out and got him. Again, oblique, hopefully not going to be too long, and hopefully not going to screw him up once he's back. Pete Fairbanks going to be activated today. I guess the main question is, are you going to be holding Jason Adams shares? If so, where? If it's not universal.
Everywhere. If I have Jason Adam, or if I see someone drop Jason Adam, I am picking him up immediately. One, he's just a really good pitcher. He's not going to hurt you to hold on to. Two, I have zero trust in Pete Fairbanks staying healthy. And so give it 2 weeks. If in 2 weeks Pete Fairbanks is the Pete Fairbanks that the truthers have been, screaming for the last couple of years, then you can drop Adam, no problem. He hasn't really hurt you that much on your roster because worst case scenario, if you needed to, you could actually use him and still get strikeouts and maybe vulture a win or something like that. But I think there is a real chance that Pete Fairbanks ends up back on the IL or really struggles, and Jason Adam takes this job and runs with it. So, if someone drops him, I'm grabbing him and I'm holding on to him. We're already at him.
Yeah, even as a Fairbanks believer, I totally agree with that. I got no problems with chasing Adam.
Update: Astros schedule came out, and Altuve is not on it. So
no on Altuve. We're waiting on Corey Seager.
Mm-hmm.
If their lineup comes out while we're on, of course, we'll give that update. But obviously, people will be looking at that stuff. Let's talk some pickups, and let's just start at the top because you were active with this gentleman. Let's start with the pitchers in the deep leagues. Obviously, these guys a lot of them were picked up in shallow formats as well. So we'll start at the top with Eury Pérez. I'll let you take it away. You had a big week with him. What were you seeing in Eury Pérez? What kind of bids did you put in to win him? Because you got him in a bunch of spots.
He looked really good in that start. I know he gave up the bomb and stuff, and that was a little bit discouraging. But he looks so good. That stuff is so powerful. And I think he's got pretty good control and command as well. There's going to be road bumps, but for me, you and I were kind of talking about before we started recording, I don't like making these big bids. I really don't. I learned my lesson last year, but some of my teams are in some real pitching issues. I was big on Michael Kopech. I was big on Brady Singer. I got a lot of shares of Jack Flaherty. My pitching is in a lot of trouble right now in a few of my leagues. And so in those places, I said, I need to make a real move here and either put myself in a position where I can get my ERA whip, because that's where my big issues are, back down below a certain level over the course of the next month or so, or load up on guys who may blow up my ERA and whip and just, punt those and say, I'm going to win strikeouts and wins. And I feel like Eury is one of those guys that can do both of those things. Absolutely. So I was very aggressive on him.
Plan.
Yeah.
So you got him in the main?
I got him in the main. I got him in
team.
my 15 in my my auction league, my $1,500 auction league.
Mm-hmm.
I got him in, I think, at least one of my OCs, if not two.
Those are 12s.
Yeah. And then, one of my OCs, my Beat Justin Mason league, which is actually doing pretty well. I just had a lot of money to spend. In CGFBI and Barth. I was very aggressive. In most of the spots, I spent $300.
Okay. Out of 1,000 for those that don't know. So 30% of the budget, obviously even more of that than the remaining budget because you didn't have all 1,000.
It was almost 50% of my main budget remaining.
I mean, I get it. Like, I understand going in here. We've both talked about how we're not super eager to dive in on these types of bids. Sometimes it just matches up with everything you've got. Your finances are there, your team need is there. They can move the needle enough on categories that it is worth pushing. So while we don't do it all the time, you found the right spot and you went for it with Eury Pérez. I'm pretty excited for him. He looks like he could be a total game changer. I will say, it sucks that a week after you buy somebody, they're going to Colorado and the Angels in the same week.
Yeah, he's probably going to be a sit next week for me.
Oh, I think I'd use him still.
We'll see. We'll kind of see what my other options are. But I mean, he gets Washington this week, so it's nice to be able to get him. Use him for that.
Yeah. Easy start this week for Eury Pérez. So he was the big dog. Let's stay on pitchers. I think a lot of folks were ready to pivot to this next guy, veteran. We're very familiar with James Paxton. Comes back, has a nice 9 strikeout outing, and I think people saying, "Oh, I can't win Eury. He's too expensive. Let me put my chips on Paxton." Pushed his price up because there were some big prices out there. I thought, I didn't think I was necessarily going to get him. I was like, "Oh, I'm making a nice competitive bid." No, I wasn't. He went for 132 and then 122 backup. I had like 84 thinking like, "Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, maybe I can get him." Yeah, right. No chance. What'd you think of James Paxton and the bids that he had? Obviously, I doubt you got him anywhere because you were getting Eury, but were you in on Paxton as that backup win?
I did get him in my main event qualifier league.
Oh, okay.
But I only spent like $37 on him.
Oh, I'm jealous.
Like I wasn't putting in huge bids on him only because, I mean, I think he looks great. I mean, he was really, really impressive. The velocity is back. He's getting a ton of strikeouts. The question is, like, how many innings can we really expect for him to pitch?
I don't know.
He's thrown like 70 or not even 70 innings like in the last 4 years or something ridiculous. I should probably actually look it up.
I'm sure it's a silly low number.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so since 2020, he has thrown a total of 26 2/3 innings. Like, that is 3.5 seasons. In 3 seasons, if you want to count 2020 plus 2023, 26 innings total. Like, that is nothing.
Always
and
consistent health issues with James Paxton.
Oh yeah, like, even previously, previous to the Tommy John and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was always, a guy that, are we going to get 120 innings this year or 150 innings this year? That being said, on a per inning basis, I can see a scenario where he's a top 30 starter. He's on a 1-year deal on a team that has no reason to worry about his long-term health.
Mm-hmm.
Could he throw another 100 innings this year with really good strikeouts and, ratios and winning a fair amount of games because the Red Sox are surprisingly somewhat competitive?
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely see it. And so he was definitely the second guy on my list this week. I wasn't going to go into triple digits. I think the most I put on him was like $50 and I didn't get him so in that league. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely intrigued. And I think there's going to be a lot of places in, home leagues and stuff like that where people are just leaving him on the wire. Like, they're just not touching him. And I'd be happy to go take the gamble because worst case scenario, you just drop him.
Exactly. You can just move on. I'd be happy to pick up Paxton literally anywhere. I mean, even 10 or 12, I think there's going to be teams that need Paxton because the upside is rich. The certainty is nothing. If you pick him up knowing that much and keep your bids tempered, so that way if you do lose him quickly, you're like, okay, I knew what I was getting. Don't put yourself in a scenario where losing him is devastating, and then you can feel comfortable going after Paxton. In the main event, he did not go under 100 very often. He was available in 20 leagues, I think. 20 main events still out of the 54, I think there are. And he went over 100 in all but 7. He only went below 80 twice, and that was 74 and 67 for James Paxton. So bids were up there. People were interested. I get it. You to be careful, right? You be careful with the health. That's it. That's all with him. Let's talk another big starter, not on the level of those two at all, but has a lot of talent that, hey, could be a sneaky guy. If you really just didn't have the bucks to go for those two, you could have pivoted to Luis Ortiz for the Pirates, who's actually going to start tomorrow on Tuesday at the Tigers, and then sets up for a two-step next week, Texas and at Seattle. What do you think of Luis L. Ortiz from the Pirates?
Love Luis Ortiz. I think there's gonna be kind of growing pains with him, but like I mentioned when we first talked about him after the Velasquez injury, is the Pirates don't have a lot of options on their 40 man in terms of starting, and so I think they're going to give him plenty of rope. You're going to get strikeouts. He was the third guy on my list in terms of who I was kind of targeting, and I was really hoping to kind of get him at a cheaper price than he ended up actually going. So I was hoping like the Paxton and Eury kind of prices just made people not remember Luis Ortiz a little bit. I was wrong. No one forgot about Luis Ortiz. I mean, the cheapest he went for in, I think, a main event league was like $179 or something like that. It's 100. Oh no, he went actually way cheaper. What was I looking at there?
No, that was the high. He went triple digits 3 times.
I had it sorted by all game styles, and on all game styles, it had the min for him. Oh no, I was looking. Never mind. I know what it was. I was looking at the max as the min. That's the problem. Okay, so
that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get him anywhere, but I've got him in a bunch of DCs, so I'm still gonna enjoy him. Him and Oviedo, I think, are really, really interesting pitchers.
Similar, right?
Way. Yeah, I think they're guys that people are really gonna like watching pitch. I think this Pirates team, I think, is still up and coming. I know they've been struggling the last couple weeks offensively.
Quite a bit.
They are, but like that rotation is going to be really interesting, especially if Ronzi can figure out any command and control at some point. So
I definitely agree with that, and I like Ortiz. And he wasn't really forgotten though. To your point, the 3 triple digits, bunch of bids in like the 40s and up, between the 40s and the 80s, which is a pretty substantial bid. I think people were trying to get him in that 30 and under, and you could have in the right league. There were definitely some 30s for Luis Ortiz in the main, but a lot of people still like him. And again, if they didn't have the big bucks for Perez Paxton, they pivoted over to Ortiz. Let's get into some hitters, then we'll do shallow, and we'll do a little closer corner again, because there's another week where there's at least some interesting guys. Let's start with the big hitter of the week, and in some instances, bigger than Perez as far as overall player. Now, he wasn't as available. Christopher Morel for the Cubs was only available in 20 leagues. And man, I think I told you this when he came up. He was in my list of bids a couple weeks ago. And I got Alek Thomas, who I did want back. I was buying him back after cutting him. And now I kind of wish I'd have won Morel in that bid, because Thomas has gone back to being bled. And Dominic Fletcher might have stolen his job. We'll talk about Fletcher in a moment. And Morel came up, hit the ground running. We know the issues with him with the swing and miss. But if they commit to the playing time, he's guaranteed power and speed, probably on a higher level than what you were saying about Matt McLain. What do you think of Christopher Morel? Did you get him anywhere? Was he available in any of your leagues?
He was available in some of my 12s. I don't believe I got him anywhere. I did have him on my list. I should probably actually check and see if I did actually pick him up anywhere. I don't know. It feels like no, I don't have him anywhere. I feel like this isn't there isn't any change. Like, he has not made any sort of changes that make me think that this isn't all going to fall apart again.
True, but the guy last year, Morel, was 16-10 with a 235. Isn't that valuable on its own?
It absolutely is if he continues to play. The problem is the Cubs aren't as bad as they were last year. They have options. What happens when Nico Horner comes back? What happens when, other guys start, if when
Nico Horner starts comes back, he goes over to third.
And replaces Wisdom, you think?
Wisdom goes to DH. Mancini stops playing as much.
Mancini's playing just fine. Mancini
89 WRC plus and not really showing the punch.
That's okay. I think Mancini's gonna be fine.
I mean, I like Mancini, but 107 ISO.
The problem is right now he's running hot and he's still running at like an almost 29% strikeout.
Sure. No, I
and so
totally
what happens when he's hitting 225?
He'll probably get moved down the order.
And he's striking out 40% of the time.
He'll probably get moved down the order, but I still
probably not going to play.
I don't know. You said when Matt Mervis starts hitting. Any day now, buddy.
It's been a week.
41% K rate. 6% walk. Where's the plate skills? It's been a week. That's long enough. How much time do you need, bro? Figure it out.
Everybody like in my chat and stuff, like asking me, like, should I be dropping Matt Mervis? I was like, if you were picking him up or stashing, like why would yes, I know it's really frustrating. Like, it's a week. Like, give the guy, 150 plate appearances or something.
At least a hundo for me. Yeah. I'm obviously joking about Mervis. I don't know. I do think Morel's going to find his PT though.
Maybe I'm wrong.
I think somebody like Mancini could be in some PT trouble. If the easiest thing, of course, that will probably happen, just because that's the way baseball goes, is another injury will open an avenue. And I guess one thing
that is true. Because, I mean, he can play everywhere.
Every opening is Morel's playing time in some form or fashion, right? Sure. He doesn't play first base, but then P. Wizzy can move over to first if something happened to Mervis. It's like they sent him back out, and then Morel's playing third. Whatever it is, he finds an avenue because he plays infield, outfield. So we'll see.
And I'm going to give him a little bit of credit. His zone contact is below league average, but it is way above where it was last year.
That's good. That's good.
That being said, he is being really, really aggressive.
Yeah.
His in-zone swing rate is almost at 80%. Go
ahead. I'm sorry.
He is seeing a pitch and he is swinging. He is not being patient at all. And at some point, pitcher's just gonna go, okay, well, we're just not gonna go in the zone on you. We're gonna let you swing outside of the zone. And I don't know that he can adjust.
Yeah, and one of the things we talked about with Christopher Morel was that even when he was raking at AAA, the skills weren't even improved. Usually when these minor league guys go down and they have this big flaw, they crush at AAA, they kind of close the gap on whatever their issue is. They come back up and it might get re-exposed. He still had a 31% K rate. He was riding a 429 BABIP and power. He has good power, but he's not a 400 ISO. He was as hot can be. So I like Morel. I wasn't willing to pay that kind of money. I talk about my friend Greg and I, we always bat things around the night of bids, and we were talking about him. He was big on Morel back when he was available as a stash, so shouts to him because he called that one. Because at $8, which was what I had him for that week, that he didn't know,
and that I would be fine with.
Every main he went in, 20 mains, all triple digits.
Yeah, and that's the problem, because that's triple digits that may end up needing to get cut here in a month, because
and so that's where I agree with you for sure.
And so if you're able to pick him up off waiver wire for nothing right now, then go ahead. Obviously, I think Ezekiel Duran is gonna fall apart, but I spent $17 on him, and I'm gonna ride until it does fall apart. And if it doesn't, I'm going to enjoy the hell out of it.
And I don't think they're too far apart.
I think they're the exact same player.
And
you have never seen them at the same place at the same time.
Trying to kill them with
ever noticed that
names.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't go John Smith and freaking Bill Walker. They went Ezekiel Duran, Christopher Morel to throw you off the scent. Just wake up, sheeple. Come on.
Yeah.
We're putting you on, okay? We're putting you on the real things here. These are the same players. And frankly, you should be impressed with him because he plays in Texas and Chicago at the same time. That is hard.
Freaking flyer miles, baby.
Give him a little bit of break on that strikeout rate. When you're playing in two places essentially at once, it's not easy. But
it'll all come out when the Cubs and the Rangers play each other, because now every team plays each other.
Happens?
And then, what uniform are you going to wear, huh?
That's where we expose him, dude. Oh, I love it. Perfect.
Yeah,
we'll be exposing him then. But no, I do think somebody like Duran does have a lot of the similarities there that don't buy high on Morel right now. That's the tough part, and that's exactly what my buddy Greg told me too, because like I said, he's his biggest backer, and he even said, well, it's probably going to be triple digits now, and at that point, I'm not sure it's worth it. So be careful there. If you missed the hype train before Morel got called up, you might want to sit back. You mentioned the name Casey Schmitt earlier. We actually talked about his call-up on Friday, if I recall correctly. But now bidding time went through. He stayed hot over the weekend, I believe, or his numbers were just so good that he was able to sustain a couple offers. I don't know which it was. He had 2 hits on Saturday, and then did have an offer on Sunday. We'll forgive him for that. He's still hitting a cool 458. Casey Schmitt is with
an offer with 3 strikeouts.
Oof. But he has a casual 500 BABIP with those aforementioned 2 homers. We did talk about him. You can get a deeper dive from Friday's episode, but I just want to know, did you get him anywhere? Did you get any Casey Schmitt?
I got him for cheap, for like 30 something bucks or something like that, in a couple OCs. I didn't need him in my main. And so like my offense is really good, and there wasn't anybody I really wanted to drop. What I needed was an outfielder because I lost Kepler. I like Schmitt if he's going to play full time. Again, I think like in spite of like, yes, it was a really nice hot start to his career. What I think he really profiles as is a really, really good defender that can accumulate.
So you need that volume.
But you need that volume. And, is JD Davis going to see much playing time at third base?
Yes.
I think he could.
So they did play. Crawford came back yesterday. Schmitt played third, so that's why you bring up JD Davis. JD DH because Jock was nicked. Now Jock's not on the IL; he just has the INJ next to him instead of IL. He's injured, so he took a couple days off. We'll see what happens there. You're a Giants fan? You're keyed in on this a bit more. Do you think JD doesn't cede that time, or is Jock the one that's going to cede the time even against a righty when he's healthy? Or is he just automatic against righties?
I think it's either JD or Schmitt. I think that becomes the real issue.
You think they're going to share? And by the way, for his part, JD Davis, let me see what he's doing against righties this year. And I know a 2-month platoon split is not going to be super valuable, but I will say he's done all of his work against righties. JD Davis has. And he's a righty himself. He actually hasn't done anything against lefties in 40 plate appearances.
And he's been much better defensively, which, it's so the Giants are in a weird spot right now because usually they try to platoon to like get the advantage, but the problem is none of them can play center field. And that's where they need a body, is they need someone who can play center field.
That's why Brett Wisely is playing right now.
Yeah, like because it's not just about the infield. If it was just about the infield, we'll move JD Davis to DH, but you've got Jock Peterson, who really shouldn't be playing the field at all. Mike Conforto,
you already have Haniger out there.
Yeah, you've got Haniger out there. You've got Conforto out there. Like, it's a really, really ugly outfield defense. It's hard. It's really, really difficult. Like, I think Schmitt has to hit the key.
Can Schmitt play in the outfield? Is he one of those super utils?
Maybe. I don't know. I have no idea.
I have no idea. I can take.
I know. I mean, if he can play shortstop, I mean, I guess he probably could. But I don't.
They can. I just don't know if it's on his ledger at all. I agree.
I don't know
have
that
same opinion. I'm like, if you can play shortstop, you can play anywhere eventually.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
but I mean, it's not like he's going to play center.
No, that's true. And like you said, they're not going to. The biggest need is.
Yeah, like it's
there's really no value to him filling a corner.
Yeah.
Because you already got Haniger and Conforto, like we already said. So yeah, that's a great point. Be mindful of that PT with Schmitt. And again, don't get caught buying high here at some exorbitant price. You said you paid 30s?
Yeah.
On 1,000, I got no problem with that.
I read a weekly buy low, sell high column, and I put Schmitt in my sell high. Like, it's been a week. It's been a great week. If anybody's willing to give you anything of like really good value, then now is the time to sell.
Anything that's better than waiver value, because that's where you got them from. So you don't need to clear a huge bar to sell Casey Schmitt. I agree with that. I probably should have put this guy higher. I kind of loosely rank these when I'm putting them together, pitchers and hitters, but then I loosely rank their quality. I think I like Dominic Fletcher a bit better out in Arizona. He is the brother of David Fletcher, who you might have learned about during the WBC. He was a bit of a star player there in the WBC for Italy. Dominic Fletcher has come up and stolen the job from Alek Thomas, as I alluded to earlier. There's another team that had a scenario where it's like the center field aspect is the important thing, and that's why Alek Thomas was still just playing every day, because he could play a true center and very well at that. but his numbers are down to 61 WRC plus, and they just can't keep waiting here. This is a team that is in competition. They're 23-18, a few games behind the Dodgers, a handful of games ahead of the Padres. They don't want to keep taking the zero there just for the defense. And now they got a combination of the two. Dom Fletcher's not a great defender, but he can play it well enough in center while hitting. What do you think of Dom Fletcher? And was he somebody you looked at? Similar kind of crazy week as Schmitt, but I think the PT is more connected, more locked in from Dominic Fletcher. What do you think?
He's a really interesting guy because, like, I don't think he is super fantasy interesting unless he's getting full-time plate appearances. I think he's another one of these guys who really needs to accumulate. Like, he's got enough pop and enough speed to be really interesting if he's playing full-time. I just question that he's going to be able to hold down this full-time job long-term. As much as I know Alek Thomas was struggling, like, the underlying numbers say he should have been a lot better. And that defense is elite for Thomas. And so I do wonder if at some point Thomas gets his job back, or at least, maybe they share the role at some point.
So can I cash in those expected stats for my standings?
You should be able to. I wish
think
you could.
I should. And then what I also heard, you were breaking up a little bit, but I heard you say that Dominic Fletcher is a fantasy savior who will fix any ailing offense if you picked him up. Is that what you said?
That is not quite what I said, but I can understand where you got that.
Yeah, I was translating a little bit, but I heard you say that if you were like a dead last or near last place team and you got him, shit's about to take off for you.
Oh, I see what's happening here. You spent a bunch of money on him.
Not a ton.
Okay.
No,
I put
what do you
some bids
think
on him.
before I tell you what I paid? 1,015 teamers. What would you have paid for Dominic Fletcher? And I cut Thomas, by the way, so I did the 1-for-1 there.
$40.
41, baby. We are in
all right. So there you go. Like, I don't mind that.
That can't hurt me, right? Like,
no, I don't think that hurts. Like that, because I do think he's going to be given an opportunity here. This is like one of those things though where defense does matter, because he's like Fletcher is a mediocre defensive player.
Yes.
He's not bad. I don't think he's good. And Alek Thomas is an elite defensive player.
Correct.
But I think they're like very similar profiles here. Like, these are both guys that, in order to have fantasy impact, they need to be playing every day. And right now, Fletcher's playing every day. If he starts struggling offensively, goes through a slump, then I think Thomas can take that job right back.
Yeah, and I think there's a world even where I needed some things because Crone went out. I have Seager, Eloy out. I know Seager's supposed to come back, but I didn't know for sure that was going to happen. There's a world where I can maybe get Thomas back next week and hold both, and then just take the winner when they kind of figure out who the best guy is there. Uh-oh. Is it good or bad breaking news?
Luke Voigt on the IL with a neck injury.
Damn.
And
Poor
the
Luke.
corresponding move is Darren Ruff signs a 1-year deal with the Brewers.
I mean, that's Spider-Man meme all day right there.
Yeah, right? Mm-hmm.
You going for Darren Ruff in a 15-teamer?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so.
I'm actually like, why aren't they just calling up like somebody? Like,
why aren't
they've
just
got
Brasso.
Yeah.
I know he's in there for power, but like, just play him on the against the lefties. Like,
I don't know.
Yeah, why do you go get another Luke Voigt off the factory line?
You've got Owen Miller and Brasso. Like, you don't need.
Just let them play. I agree that's kind of doofy, but whatever. Anyway, Dominic Fletcher, totally agree with everything you said there. Paid 41. I love Alek Thomas. The funny thing is, I picked Alek Thomas back up after drafting and cutting him, and so this is my second time cutting him. Will I be back to the well again? Who can say for sure? I love to cut guys and then pick them back up. I did that on another move we'll talk about in a moment. But our next guy up is Jake Burger, who, I mean, dude can crush, right? It's all about health with him, not just in the short term, but in the grand scheme. Like, his career has kind of been derailed, or at least stalled out by injury. He returned from the IL yesterday on Sunday. He has 8 homers this year, which is equal to what he did last year, Justin, but he needed 102 fewer plate appearances to do it, 81 versus 183. So he can rake. He's got pop. Jake Burger is a right-hander. I don't know if they got lefties coming up this week. They only have one, but I think he's going to play just the same because they have spots open. Was Jake Burger on your radar this week for deeper leagues?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big burger guy. Love myself a burger.
I wasn't gonna say anything.
Yeah, no, I mean, I do. I've
I like
always been
burgers too.
I've always been a big Jake Burger fan. Right now with the injuries that they've got, I think he's going to be their full-time DH.
Yeah.
And so, like, I think he is going to play every day. Sometimes, he'll play third when Moncada, is getting a day off. Or I'm really worried about Moncada's long-term health. Anyways,
I totally
but
am.
Burger, I mean, he's kind of a true 3-outcome kind of guy, right? Like
which is strikeout, walk, homer. For those that don't know, those are called the 3 true outcomes.
So I mean, like he's got 8 home runs and 12 runs scored. Like it's like he's only crossing the plate when he does it himself for the most part. But like if you need power, and I mean this is a year in which power is a hard thing to come by. Jake Burger fits that bill, and so yeah, I mean, I like him a lot. As long as he can stay healthy and maybe DHing a little bit more, will help him do that.
Yeah, I think that's
problem is
right there.
At some point, Eloy comes back, and they're gonna have to make a decision.
Yeah, that's why I was interested in Burger. I didn't end up getting him, but because I have Eloy, I was like, okay, I'll take the fill-in. But I got a different guy that I'm very curious your thoughts on. We'll get to here momentarily. In fact, in a couple players actually. Next up is Kyle Farmer. Now, I've been kind of a Kyle Farmer hater, if I can be honest about it. It's not really like I don't hate him or anything. It's not a personal thing. But it's because my Jose Barrero love. Let's be honest, that was really
okay. I assumed it was because he was so independently wealthy from FarmersOnly.com.
I thought that was genius. No, I respected the hustle on that. That was genius. Creating a website, a dating website, strictly for people to date you only.
Yeah,
brilliant. Now a bunch of actual farmers got on it, so I don't think it worked how he wanted because he didn't get a date, but he did get tons of money. So genius. But no, like I said, no issues with him in Minnesota. I just I'm like, whatever. But I was like, stop taking Jose Barrero's time. And then Jose Barrero was terrible. And I'm like, I'm sorry, Kyle Farmer, you're better than Jose Barrero. He's going to play. In fact, he was playing and doing well before he got hit in the face by Giolito. That was ugly, by the way.
Yeah.
But he's back, played all week. He's playing third every day, especially with Miranda sent out, which, did we forget to talk about that on Friday, or did that happen over the weekend?
I think we just forgot to talk about it, honestly.
Days blend together, and so Corey Seager will return this week. It doesn't say today though. Hang on. In the next couple days, General Manager Chris Young did not commit to a date, so it won't be today. So for me in NFBC, and for those of us that are in those type of leagues where you do Monday, Thursday, and then Friday through Sunday, I'm gonna wait. I'll wait to pick him up or to start him for the weekend, I think.
Yeah, I think that's the position I'm in. Like I've got Ezekiel Duran there. It's like I can
Same.
just can hold on for a few more days. So that's a bummer though. I want Seager back.
What would have been really nice to have. No, I have Duran in another.
I've got Seager and Altuve on the same team, so I like getting them back is gonna be
for both of them.
Yeah, well, and TJ Friedl as well. So like it's like I got Zach. It was a league where I picked up Zach McKinstry. Just because I was like, oh, he can cover all the spots.
All of those, which is great. So what about Farmer then? Back, playing, are you interested? He's definitely got a
they like him
guy.
A lot.
He has to be a captain, right? Like I know they don't announce captains a bunch, but like based on all the playing time he gets, both in Cincy and now Minnesota, is he just a well-liked dude, I guess?
Apparently, like he doesn't do anything particularly great.
Except just play ball, right? He's got that grit aspect.
Yeah, he's like that Brian Dozier guy, right? Like the clubhouse.
He's like,
except for maybe not a jerk.
I would say, is Brian Dozier a jerk?
Wasn't he like the guy that would yell at people for not playing baseball the right way?
I hope not. I really liked Brian Dozier.
I feel like he was.
Let us know if Brian Dozier was a dick. That's a bummer if he was, because he seemed cool. I liked him. But this will be late career Brian Dozier, by the way, because Brian Dozier has like a 42 homer season in California. Never doing that. Did you try to pick Kyle Farmer up this week at all, or did you not need third base?
He was like in the like bottom of my waterfall. And so I have him in Tout Wars. He's on my bench. I like him because he's shortstop and third base eligible. They're in Tout. So, I mean, I think he's interesting. Like they like him enough where they sent down one of their top prospects.
Yeah.
Who's like, yeah, I know he wasn't playing great or anything, but like, Jose Miranda is a good hitter. A really bad defender, but a good hitter. And so for them to just send him out,
that he got sent out.
Yeah, I mean that was a bit surprising because I felt like Miranda had a pretty darn safe floor, but apparently not. So I mean, he's going to play every day. He's going to accumulate deeper leagues. I think he makes a lot of sense.
You know what the problem was about us missing Miranda on Friday is that it happened on Wednesday. By then it was pretty stale. I know we didn't get to talk about it, but I think that's why it didn't pop up in any of my news feeds because it had already been buried a bit. So pardon me on that. I still should have brought it up so we could talk about it, but this is our way of talking about it. Now, speaking of guys that I've cut and decided to get back, Michael Massey on fire. And what's funny is I cut Rodolfo Castro, who I had drafted, re-picked up, and now cut again because his job got stolen. Rodolfo Castro has basically been replaced now by Tucupita Marcano, essentially. G1 Bay is the one playing second. Marcano's over at short. Rodolfo Castro is not playing. But Michael Massey, who's a guy I really liked coming into the year, and I tried to stick with him for a while. I really, really did because he was showing some punch. But man, my counting stats are so far behind. I just couldn't take somebody who's just draining the batting average every single week and not on a good enough team to pick up like ancillary runs and ribbies, right? Like you can be sucking on, say, the Dodgers or the Rays or something, and you're just getting a few runs and ribbies just because they're good. That was not happening with Massey. Well, the power's starting to translate. The hits are starting to fall. 2 homers, 2 steals now. The baseline numbers still look bad, 54 WRC plus, but I picked him back up. I only paid $29, so I don't feel bad about that. What do you think of Michael Massey? Is he finally coming around, or is this just a blip?
I think he's starting to come around. Like, I mean, I don't necessarily know that he's going to be this good rest of the way or anything like that, but I think he's going to be a pretty usable player that can, hit for average, steal some bases, isn't popless. The question is, like, will he get to play every day?
I think if he's hitting,
he's going to.
Decidedly, yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Second base, let's see. Last time he missed was Friday, and the second baseman was Miguel Garcia, who moves around. So there's no like set
and has
guy.
Been struggling. Like Miguel Garcia came up and stole 2 bases, like, and was like, hey, really good in the first couple games. Yeah. And he's hitting like 210 or something like that.
214 with a 43 WRC plus. So, he's going through it as well. But this offense as a whole actually is playing well lately. I mentioned how they don't offer ancillary runs, ribbies. Well, lately they kind of have been. So I went back for Massey. 6 righties this week. I think he's deep league viable. Is Massey worth it in 12s, or does he have to do more than a few good games?
I think he has to do more than a few good games in 12s, but
I agree.
Especially because there are other options, potentially out there. But I held on to him in a couple leagues where, like, my offenses were really strong, and I could just put him on the bench. So being able to now put him into the lineup is pretty nice.
Yeah, that is really nice with Massey, and it was coming along a little bit there toward the end of the month. He had 3 2-hit games in a row, and that's where I kind of got encouraged. I want to say the third of those was actually on a Sunday as well, and so I was like, okay, he's going to be fine. And then he promptly had 2, 3, and 3 strikeouts in a 3-game span. I was like, okay, great. But in May, 344, 463, 594 with the 2 homers and one of the 2 steals for Michael Massey. I'm back in. I say go pick them up in your deeper leagues. Coin toss in 12s, depending on what you got available. What about Luke Raley? I swear we've probably talked about him a couple times because he kind of keeps up, down, cut onto the next team. But he goes through these power surges. He's with the Rays, so he's the standard, plays for a little bit, sits for a bunch. Platoon type guy because he doesn't even play against every righty. He's a left-hander. But is Luke Raley doing enough with the power and his 8 homers and 103 plate appearances that you're interested?
Not really. There's just not enough playing time. It just
and the strikeout profile with the bad ball rate.
Okay. I'm not super interested in him. So can he pitch? Because that would be the main issue right now.
Oh my God! Yeah, we didn't even talk about Rasmussen. Obviously, he's a cut everywhere. Hopefully you got Perez for more Paxton.
What a brutal blow. Like, I mean,
dude.
Remember how we were talking at the beginning of the season that this Rays rotation was just unreal good?
Impeccable.
And now it's like held together by Scott. It's not even duct tape. Like they can't even afford duct tape. Like,
And it's not even Scotch, like 3M
Yeah.
brand Scotch tape.
No, it's a dollar.
off-brand.
Yeah, it's the dollar store.
It does not stick very well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty brutal.
Yeah,
like
it's tough.
they have to make a move, right? Someone in my chat today was like they've got Aranda and all these other guys that are like in the minor leagues that are blocked. Like they've got to start trading some of these guys for arms at some point, right?
You would think, but I have a guy they could call up. His name is Taj Braidley. Never heard of him, but I feel like he could be good.
I think I know who you're talking about.
It is Taj or Tage.
I believe it's Tage.
Tage.
And he is getting worked in AAA.
I don't give a shit about
I know.
that,
I agree. But
probably
apparently
he's
they
livid
do.
that he got sent out. Yeah, I hope this means Bradley comes up. It sucks about Rasmussen. Sorry if you lost him. It always is terrible to lose an ace. I never relish in.
They put him
in guys
straight
going
on the
down.
60-day. Like
No, it's
he's
over.
done.
Yep.
Yeah, like,
they're not doing the dance they did with Springs because they gave people some false hope with Springs stuff, and then with Rasmussen, they're just like, he gone. So
by the way, Patrick Corbin is currently about to destroy every single person that streamed him this week.
Why is that? Wait, has the game started?
Yeah, it's
a wraparound game.
It's bases loaded in the second right now with Brandon Nimmo at bat. 2 outs. Yeah, it's a 1-1 game right now.
Speaking of dumb streams, how about that? How about Kyle Freeland?
Yeah, right?
I ate shit the last time. And then, of course, this time I say, no, I am off of it. And I wasn't, like, mad that you swayed me there. You were right the first time. And the bottom line that we always say, you got a big pickoff to end the inning.
Oh, okay, I'm buying a little.
Sorry, I know I'm always ahead of you. But anyway, Freeland did have success. But again, I'll reiterate your point for you. It was always
How do you let that happen? Like, you're a
Francisco
catcher.
Alvarez. Exactly.
You're a catcher. You should know better than that.
He saw the Daniel Vogelbach commercial, and he got some ideas in his mind. That's devastating. That's going to cost him PT with Buck.
He was so far off the bag.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
I think that will actually cost him PT.
That is inexcusable.
Yeah, that's brutal. That is.
I mean, thankfully for me,
brutal.
as a person who streamed Patrick Corbin in like 6 DCs this week.
Because I was gonna say, like, you bring that up as somebody with Corbin, right? Because you were the big Corbin guy last year. Obviously, I know you weren't like taping for him this year.
I took him in like
DC
every DC because like he was like you'd get to like round 45 and be like, there are no starters left except for Madison Bumgarner and Patrick Corbin.
Yep.
So
it was always
like,
those two, dude.
So like I was like, all right, well, screw it. Because, I mean, I have DC teams right now that are absolutely destroyed in injuries. Like, I mean, I know everybody is feeling that pain because, like, there's no world in which, like, you are safe right now from injuries in draft champions where it just.
I have one with Rasmussen and Springs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and Strider. And with those three, flashback 1 month, I thought I was the god. I was like, oh my God, what a beautiful set of picks by my genius ass. I am so good. And then Fantasy Baseball said, really? Is that so? How about that?
I just clicked on a random DC and let me read to you my L guys right now. TJ Friedl, Giancarlo Stanton, Kerry Carpenter, Kyle Isbell, Christian Pache, Daniel Hudson, Trevor Rogers, Matt Manning, Joe Mantiply, Daniel Lynch, Zach Davies, and Tommy Canley. Like,
God, dude.
Like, I mean, and that was just a random. Like, I wasn't even trying to find.
Yeah, you weren't even finding like the most injured one.
I've got another one: TJ Friedl, Tristan McKenzie, Jose Suarez, Aaron Savali, Daniel Lynch, Matt Manning, Liam Hendricks. That one's not even that bad. Like,
yeah, if you've never played a DC, folks, it's 50 rounds draft and hold. You can't make any moves. That's your team, and it can be devastating. And it seems, it feels like a battle of attrition in those leagues.
It absolutely is. And every year we talk about this when we're talking about draft champions drafts, because it's what we talk about, in October, November, and December a lot of the time. because there's not much else going on. And we say, don't draft injury risk. Don't draft. Like, you feel like you have all these draft spots, and you're like, oh, well, if this guy gets injured, I've got, a bunch of other guys. I'm going to draft 22 pitchers between relievers and starters. And then you get to this, a point in the season, you're like, I have 9 healthy guys. Those 9 are going in. I don't have to, think about setting it. And 5 of them are relievers because I've lost so many starters. So the people who win those leagues draft the least risky teams possible.
What we would call boring. If you looked at it, you'd be like, oh, that's
Rob
boring.
DiPietro is a master at it. Steve Weimer is a master at it.
Yep.
They put together these teams that you're like, oh, this is so boring. You're never going to win. And at the end of the year, they've got the most plate appearances and they have the most innings. Yeah,
because it's playing time and it's as guaranteed can be, which is difficult to ever guarantee anything. You can't. But you're trying to. They are drafting consistent track records that they have an idea of what those players are going to deliver, and they're not taking the chances that Jordan Walker will get called up, and then you say, oh, he made the team. I'm a genius, and then he's back down.
Yep.
Yeah, you're Jose Miranda. Nobody thought he was super risky. He can get sent out. But who isn't ever getting sent out is Christian Yelich. He might get hurt, but he ain't ever getting sent out. And so again, I'm just naming random one-off players, but those boring teams do the best in draft champions.
Yep.
For sure. Now here's the guy I wanted to highlight. Moving on to our next guy there, closing the book on Luke Raley, who we both said no thanks on. This guy I liked, Jake Bauers. Now, longtime listeners of the show might remember how much I used to love Jake Bauers back in the day. I don't quite love him to that degree anymore. I will freely admit that. I don't see some big rising from him. But this reminds me exactly of the Franchy Cordero stream from a few weeks ago when they were facing all righties. I took a shot, ended up getting 2 homers from him. That's a beautiful stream. Bauers is raking right now. They do have 6 or 7 righties. I don't know how many games they have, but they're all righties. It is 7. So it's 7 straight righties at Toronto and at Cincy. And so I went for Jake Bauers for $41. And Mike Curlin messaged me today showing me all the results of the Bauers bids. Pretty much every league only had 1 Bauer believer. We all overbid. Nobody bid higher than 29. That was the highest. But the runner up there was 4. Then a 26-0. I was 24-3. The only other person that had a double-digit backup was a 16-15. Malcolm Theo main event, whoever that is. So it seemed like every league only had 1 Bauers believer. What do you think of Jake Bauers for this week as a deep league stream?
It's such a weird underlying stat line. It's just because you look and you go, well, I mean, he's striking out 36% of the time, right? Yeah. He's got to be kind of up to his old tricks where he's not making very good in-zone contact, and no, he's making 96% in-zone contact. His called strike rate is 23%,
which might be why he has an 11% walk rate, because he's waiting on his pitch, getting deep into counts for Jake Bauers.
Yeah, so I don't know. Do I think this is going to continue? No, but for a short-term stream on a Yankees team that is beat up right now, sure, why not? Go ahead. He's not going to play against lefties. And he shouldn't. But they've got a bunch of righties this week. Take a gamble, see what happens,
Yeah, and that's all I did. I'm looking for hopefully a good week. If I can get 2 weeks out of it, great. But I don't look at these sub-50s as more than needing a couple weeks out of them to pay off.
What do you think his XBA is right now? He's hitting 292. What do you think his expected batting average is?
260.
No.
Upper, low.
Upper. You go up.
340.
Yeah, 336. It's actually getting unlucky, right?
Bauers is smashing it. There are strikeouts, but a 13% swinging strike rate is not crazy and doesn't really portend a 36% K rate. So like you said, those called strikes, if he's taking those with a purpose and still doing damage later in the count, we're not worried about it. If he's striking out because he didn't find his pitch to do damage on, we should also mention 2 homers in his 11 games. It's a small sample, but also 4 homers, 6 steals, and 7 attempts, by the way, in AAA. I don't know where that's coming from. Oh, no, excuse me. 9 and 5. 9 homers, 5 steals in 87 AAA plate appearances. The 4 and 6 was from 2021, pardon me. But Jake Bauers...
I should have picked him up this week. He only got picked up in one of my leagues. He is available in every single one of my leagues other than my auction.
I liked him, and I got to give, again, my buddy Greg a hat tip on that because he was underscoring him even more. I am a little bit lower on my list with some other guys ahead of me. He's like,
clearly I got to stop talking to you, and I still got to start talking to Greg.
You need to get out of mine and Greg's calls, man.
Apparently.
He's got great. I mean, he's doing brilliantly to start the year, and he knows not to get too over his skis with excitement, but he is off to a brilliant start. But yeah, so he helped me kind of push a little bit higher on Jake Bauers. I had him like 3rd on my list, and after we were done talking, I moved him up to number 1 because I need power impact more. I can use some steals. My steal standings are close, but that's why I got a bunch of guys. So I'm hoping my Fletcher, Donovan, Massey, and Bauers can all go crazy. Brendan Donovan, not super available in main events. That happened to be kind of a one-off thing. So I went ahead and picked him up. Even though he's not special, I just decided to go for it. Now, I want to move over to the opposite end of the spectrum as far as like team context, right? Bauers is on the Yankees. Our next guy here is on the A's. But it's Jordan Diaz, and he does have a 3-homer game that garnered plenty of attention, of course. He has 4 on the season. He's kind of an all-or-nothing guy. Literally right now, 25% K rate, 0% walk. Was Jordan Diaz somebody that you thought would be a deep league worthwhile scoop?
No, not really. I mean, almost all the heavy lifting is that one game. There is power in the bat, but I don't know if the playing time is going to be there. And even if it is, like, dude could hit 20 home runs throughout the season and have like 22 RBIs. Like, it's just...
True. You're not wrong.
What a play.
It's a great catch. I didn't want to spoil it for you for once.
Oh, what a
Stone
play.
Garrett making a brilliant sliding grab there against Nimmo. That would have dropped fair too. That's a triple.
Oh yeah, unfortunately for Lindor right there. Yeah, Lindor's just been getting the shit on his stick, and like that is super unlucky, but what a play by Stone Garrett. That's a great play.
So, yeah, no, I feel you on Jordan Diaz. I wasn't super keen on him. Let's talk a couple other guys here before we move on to shallow league plays. Elly De La Cruz was drafted in a bunch of leagues. And so in the main event, for those that don't know, prospects can't be picked up if they weren't drafted and then cut. That's why Eury Pérez is available in every league because nobody's stashing him because nobody drafted him because you're not going to hold him till God knows when because he's 20 years old in AA. But Elly had a good enough spring and had enough chatter that some people were taking him as their 28th, 29th, 30th pick. But of course, they ended up cutting him when he didn't make the team or anything. So he was available in a handful of leagues, and he was picked up a good bit. Were you looking at any Elly De La Cruz, and was he even available in your league?
He was not available in any of my leagues. I actually picked up Encarnacion Strand a couple weeks ago.
Same concept.
Because the same kind of idea where he was picked up and someone dropped him. I was like, I'll put a buck on him and hold him for a little bit. The problem for Strand is he's not on the 40-man. But Elly De La Cruz is. I think Elly De La Cruz, I mean, he should be up at this point. And I don't. It's hard to kind of figure out what the Reds are doing, and it's been hard to kind of figure out what they've been doing for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But they have a lot of talent in AAA right now.
They have an amazing system. Go ahead.
I wonder, like, are they going to be a team that kind of looks and goes, well, the Cardinals are struggling, the Pirates are coming back to earth, the Brewers, like, are mediocre without Woodruff. Burns seems like he's starting to turn around, but, like, do they want to take a little run at this and maybe bring up some of these guys?
They should. Will they? I don't know.
Yeah, it's just so hard to kind of get a read on what they're going to do. But I think Cruz is talented enough. I mean, legit 70, 80 grade power in that bat. That
for sure. Raw power for sure. We'll see how it translates to game. Super boomer bust. In AAA right now with 6 homers, 4 steals, but 4 for 9 on the bases. You heard that right. That's 5 caughts. A lot of swing and miss in his game. Am I too far off to say there's like a Christopher Morel vibe when Elly De La Cruz comes up?
Yeah, no, I don't think you're wrong there. I mean, I
Except
think
that when he comes up, I think the playing time, which was your bigger concern with Morel, I
Mhm.
think that they would bring him up. I would hope that they'd be bringing up Elly De La Cruz to play and not bounce
Yeah,
around.
and I mean, defensively, like I don't know that he can stick it short. I think the hard part for them right now is I don't know that they want to play Senzel in the outfield.
Yeah.
And Senzel's playing well. Like so, like
Mm-hmm.
I think they want to Senzel's had to bounce around to a bunch of different spots his entire career. It hasn't helped him stay healthy at all, and so why right now he's playing well and he's not getting hurt. So like, why
Yeah.
mess with him at all?
Hey, so he's
Um,
locked in third. India's locked in second. And you have
Second,
512 middle infield prospects coming up. Where are you playing?
and none of them are like good enough defensively at short where like you have to play them there. Like
Exactly.
like if
McLain, Elly, Noelve.
mhm.
None of them are premier. I think Arroyo is the only one, and he's
I mean, Barrero is a really, really good
yeah.
defensive shortstop, but like he's not like anything with the stick, unfortunately. So they're just kind of in a weird spot. You almost wonder, like, will they make some trades? Like, could they do like a Jazz Chisholm for Zach Gallen type of challenge
deal.
trade?
Absolutely.
At
Why do they
some
do it with
point?
that team?
They could. They absolutely. I mean, I think once Trevor Rogers is actually back, maybe that's something that is looked at. Is like, hey, should we make a deal here? Send someone for a Trevor Rogers.
Yeah, arm for a bat seems like a fit there between Reds and Marlins
Yeah.
for sure. Totally agree with you. But yeah, Elly got a bunch of pickups. I do think it makes sense. I'm not in the stash mode right now with my offense. I need guys that are playing, but I respect the people that went out and did it and have the availability. Again,
Yeah.
to reference Greg for the 500th time, I hope you listened to this episode. He had the space to do it. I think he got outbid by a pretty good bit, even though he thought he's like, oh, I put a good bid in here, and the other managers in his league were like, nope, how about this, and put some crazy bid. I mean, he went for 57 in two different leagues. Elly did. Yeah, and one of those was Greg's league, and then it was 15, 12, 11, 11. And I want to say Greg's bid was 23, so he'd have gotten him in those other four. He happened to be in one of the two leagues where he wasn't going to get him. What do you think of 57 on Elly De La Cruz?
It's a lot. I mean,
It was
I think
57-11 and 57-23.
he's gonna be 157 or 257 when he gets
True.
pulled up. So like,
True.
I get why you do it, but it could be he could be up next week.
We have no idea.
He could be up in July. Like we really like.
It could
like,
be August.
They're not gonna.
Cold.
They're not gonna bring him up not to play. I think the Matt McLain, promotion is really indicative of they don't want him playing short. So he needs an injury. And I mean, Nick Senzel is always like a strong gust of wind away from being hurt, but I think he needs an injury.
You don't gotta be saying all that.
It's true.
Nick Senzel.
I want Senzel. I want Senzel to be healthy and good. Like
don't even put that out there.
I can't remember if it was you or someone else I was telling. Like I've had Nick Senzel rostered on a dynasty league team out of spite. Like for like
you owe me MF.
Like
I've got.
I should be trying to cash him in right now. Like I should just be like,
you probably, especially with the Coors
Mhm.
series coming up. But I've got Myers, Senzel, Steer, Stevenson. If I can't do anything with what's that, 12 games in Coors,
Mhm.
and I don't know if Myers is going to. By the way, this is probably his last week. Hey, listen, folks, I was huge on Myers. It's not going well right now. I'm not quitting yet, but hey, one thing I always say: if I catch a fat L with a recommendation, at least I took him to. I don't know if that comforts anybody, but I know it would comfort me. If somebody's recommending somebody a whole bunch, and then come to find out that they didn't get him on any of their teams, I'd be like, hey, did you lead people astray on purpose? But at least with regards to specifically Will Myers, I'm right there in the muck with y'all. And hopefully he turns out.
and I am too, but like the more I look at it now, the more I go, this was wish casting. And I know people don't like that.
It's not
like
done yet.
I know it's not, and I'm hoping he turns it around because it really needed to, and especially some of my DCs. But
let's play this out a little bit. Why was it wish casting?
Because if you look at the contact numbers, like the one thing I was wanting to focus on this year because we
Contact
had all
profiles.
these things that we didn't know how they were going to play out, like the defensive alignments, pitch
Mm-hmm.
clocks, larger bases, things like that. Like the one thing I wanted to focus on was pure hitting skills. And Myers, as much as he in the past have shown the ability to be a really good in zone contact hitter, he hasn't been in years. And I think I got over confident in Cincinnati. Like I felt like, hey, Cincinnati is
I
gonna
bet a lot on Cincinnati.
and yes, like Cincinnati is gonna help a guy who's got power, but you can't hit the ball over the fence if you can't hit the ball. And he just
That's a
doesn't
fair
hit the
point.
ball. Like, and that's the big issue, right? He's got a 75% in zone contact, and that
And
is
what's good for
atrocious.
context?
Like league average, like 84,
83.
85%.
Okay, 84.
Yeah, I mean, I'll double check what it is this year because I haven't checked recently. But I mean,
It probably hasn't changed that much to where 75 would be any good for Will Myers. No,
yeah,
he's been dreadful. Like I totally grant that. What I saw was a guy who's been a plus bat for his whole career, going to the best venue he's ever played in. I know I need some health, but I still even feel
yeah,
like he's going to be
league
fine.
average is 85%. I mean, he's 10% below league average in terms of zone contact.
I will say this too, though, like I'd be so much happier if he had like a 205 BABIP, because you can't even go to that. It's 305. I wish he had like a 2% homer to fly ball, because you would think that would regress. It's 14%.
His
XBA 16%.
His XBA is 189. Like it's
it's really the swing and miss right now.
He should be dropped if he does not get hot this week, going to Coors and then home versus the Yankees.
Yeah,
he should be dropped in just about every format.
I tend to agree. I did say that this period that I highlighted last week, with all the home games and the trip to Coors, it started with White Sox Mets at home, trip to Miami, which isn't great because they have good pitching and a difficult park, but then 3 at Colorado and then another 7 at home. And then again, you could even throw in the at Wrigley and at Fenway, because those are pretty good venues too. If we don't see him cooking there, or really any of your Reds that are kind of struggling, but Myers I think is chief among them, especially because I recorded him so hard, then you really start to move on. I'm fine with where Steer's at, what I paid for him. He's been a league average guy with 5 homers and a steal. I'm chill with that. Tyler Stevenson hasn't been great, but it's at catcher. It doesn't hurt as much. Fraley's been good, 5 homers, 4 steals. I consider that a check mark in our favor for recommending him. Same with Friedl, 3 homers, 4 steals. He's been the best hitter on their team, besides maybe India. But Myers, it's a bit of a do or die week. I totally agree with you there.
Stevenson's been fine. He's just not in for the power.
Yeah, which I did expect power to happen, but I'm not out on that yet at all. Matt Thaiss is the last deep league guy I want to talk about. We don't talk about catchers a lot because in 2 catcher leagues, there's not much available. But dude is raking, and obviously his playing time opened up quite a bit with Ohapi going down, unfortunately. What do you think about Matt Thaiss, who's cooking 291, 385, 382? So not as much on the power cooking, but a lot of good batting average, and thus some runs and ribby potential for Matt Thaiss. Is he a good C2 for you?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the question on Thaiss has always been where he's going to play, because he's not great defensively behind the plate. They had other guys. He's blocked off at DH because of Ohtani. They had Jared Walsh before. Like there were all these guys kind of in the way of Thaiss getting full-time playing time. But because nobody behind the plate can stay healthy there, they've, now moved into a situation where he's got to play. Like they just don't have a ton of options. All their pitching injuries have gone behind the plate as opposed to being on the mound. So, I mean, I think he is a really, really interesting C2 especially in your deeper formats, because I think he's going to play every day, and I think he's going to hit fairly decently. Or not every day, but he's going to play a lot and hit decently.
Yeah, I mean, no catcher plays literally every day, but I think Thaiss is going to play a ton, and he gets the occasional burn over at first, right? And now with the Rendon injury, Drury can go over to
not really. He's played 1 game at first.
Plays the occasional game.
Over at first. He's got 1 game at first, 1 game as DH. Like he's just
that is an occasional game.
Occasional, yeah.
Over at first.
Occasionally,
Was I
yeah.
wrong?
And it may become more occasional because Rendon's out, Drury
That's what I
goes to
just said.
third.
That's what I just said.
No, you didn't say that.
Yes, I did. Play back the tape. I literally just said that after you made fun of
I'm
me
in
for saying
control of the
occasional.
tape.
Oh my God, you're gonna
I'm gonna
delete it and
delete that
gaslight the
part out. Yeah.
hell out of me. Anybody
I
live in the chat right now, please?
Nope.
I need,
Nobody watching live.
Dang. All right, so let's go to some shallow guys and then do closer's corner and bounce here. Nick Pratto getting some hype back. I've talked about it a million times, but he was big time prospect over Vinny P. Vinny P took over everyone's hearts last year. Nick Pratto saying, "Hey, don't forget about me," with a nice week. Actually, 69 very nice plate appearances thus far with a 170 WRC plus and a couple of homers. Still swinging and missing, or actually still a high strikeout rate. But I stress
not
the
swinging
and
missing.
that's exactly why I wanted to correct myself, because it is a 10% swinging strike rate, which is down 5 points from what he did at the major league level, and also was 9% at the minor leagues. So it looks like Nick Pratto's made a concerted effort here, and even though the results weren't there in the minors, he had a 173 BABIP. It looks like he's come up to the majors and gotten all his BABIP progression because he has a 514 right now. Are you interested in Nick Pratto?
Absolutely. Somebody kind of sat him down. I don't know who in the organization did this, but someone clearly sat him down and went, "Listen, we know you have a very good understanding of the strike zone because you walk a lot. So when the ball is coming down in your, in your red zone, you swing. When it's not, you don't swing, right? Like they are making him wait for his pitch inside of the zone, which has always been an issue because it's like he recognizes the strike zone so well that he goes, "Oh, it's in the strike zone, swing," and now he's being a lot more selective in the zone and getting his pitch and just raking. Yes, he's hitting over his head. He's not gonna hit 350 or anything like that, but his XBA is 296. Like this is not like. It's not like, oh, this is completely, fabricated. This is, he's going to regress a ton. He's going to regress some, but he's still going to be a pretty good hitter. There's power. They're playing him. I love this. This is another one of these guys like Senzel on one of my dynasty teams where I just held him out of spite. And this one's, I think, going to pay off even more than Senzel.
Yeah, I mean, I could certainly see it. I like Pratto. I hope he does well. But I wonder if you might be interested in this AL Central counterpart of his that maybe seems to have stolen a wrist from somebody, because Alex Kirilloff is playing well of late. Do you believe it?
Do I believe that he's playing well? Yes, I do believe it.
Well, that is a fact. Do you believe in that quality playing time that you think it could be? I mean, it is 28 plate appearances, so let's not get hung up. But it is like obscene numbers: more walks than strikeouts, 2 homers, 258 WRC plus, which is absolutely bananas. Can he stay healthy enough? Will you take the plunge? Are you taking the shallow league risk on Kirilloff because he is available in some shallows?
Yes, especially in some shallow leagues, because if and when he gets hurt again, there's going to be someone else to pick up off the waiver wire. My question is, how long can he stay healthy? But that's a question for later down the road. Like, just play it out and see what happens. Like, I don't think he's one of those guys that I'm necessarily looking to trade off of right now. I think I'm just going to because I think he's going to be a pretty good player until, he gets hurt. But for me, the question is, the question for me is like, it's not about if, it's about when. Like, he's just a guy that has not been able to stay healthy. But I mean, this is a guy who was a top 10 prospect at one point. Like, it's an elite talent. Again, elite bat to ball skills. Like, 88% zone contact. Like, he's only swinging outside the zone like 20% of the time. When league average is 35% of the time. So, I like Kirilloff on a per plate appearance basis. I just am petrified that he's going to take a swing and just break that wrist again.
No, the one thing I will say, well, let me check the numbers because I'm going anecdotal right now, but I think at least people weren't going crazy for Kirilloff. I feel like the payments, the prices were in check. So that way, okay, if something does happen with Kirilloff again, at least you're not out, triple digits on your budget here. Let me see if I can find him real quick. So he went over 100 of these are 12 teamers for Kirilloff, over $100 in 5 of the leagues, but then 99 and below and tons of like 50 and belows. I don't mind taking that shot. He went in
Yeah.
68 leagues, by the way, and the vast majority are $50
Let,
and below.
let's do some would you rather's real quick
Let's do it.
on first baseman that like in a 10-team league someone might want to trade out. Would you rather have Alex Kirilloff rest away or Ty France?
France has no punch right now. I'm gonna go France.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Kirilloff.
Let's do next like 4 to 6 weeks, because the rest of the season is just it's too much of a pipe dream to think we're gonna know that long. But in that 4 to 6 week period,
I'm just saying, would you pick him up right now for Ty France? Would you drop? I drop Ty France for him.
I'd keep Ty France and bet that his 5% homer to fly ball is going to regress.
What about Josh Bell, who just is lost? Like he just got
out 3 more times this afternoon, and they're not even playing.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing in the profile that tells me Josh Bell's turning this around.
I mean, if there's one thing you can be somewhat positive on, it's that he still has the same strikeout to walk ratio that he did last year, which was better than 19 to 21 combined. That's about the best thing I can give you on Josh Bell, and a little bit of the BABIP being fine. And here's the thing, too.
He has a 60% ground ball rate.
That's the problem with the power not coming back. But I will say he still has been a 96 WRC plus for Josh Bell. I'm probably sticking with Bell.
I'm not. I'm going.
You're going Kirilloff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rowdy Thaiss.
You going Kirilloff again?
I think I am. And if you've listened to me for years, you have heard me talk about just so much crap about him. Yeah. I had him ranked extremely low in my ranks.
You were totally out. Wait. Let me ask you. Let me drill a little further on the Thaiss thing. Thaiss is panning out completely. 125 WRC plus, 10 homers so far. You sure you're cutting him for Kirilloff's wrists?
All right, no, you're right.
Wristy McGee, as we like to call him.
No, I think you're right. I think
the other two, I think you can make a case on that one. Thaiss is tougher.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. Thaiss, I think I'm holding still.
Okay.
I didn't realize he had 10 home runs already. Let me see if there's just anybody else that we should be making a cut for. Oh, here you go. Jose Abreu.
Oh my God.
He has a 43 WRC plus.
I mean, I usually don't cut guys this early. I kind of, and I know like sunk cost fallacy and all that sort of stuff, but I still think it's not that you drafted him and that because you drafted him in a high round, they are bestowed these numbers. It's because of your expectations for a certain level of numbers. But he has no homers. There was power issue last year with Abreu. I thought the short porch with the Crawford boxes at home would certainly help him out. Dude, I think we're talking shallow leagues here, right? 10s and 12s. Mm-hmm. I think I might go Kirilloff.
I mean, it's Kirilloff, and it's not particularly close for me. But somebody in one of my leagues where I need pitching badly because my pitching has been bad to mediocre, and then I lost Drew Rasmussen on this team. Somebody in the league offered me Logan Gilbert straight up for Jose Abreu, and I thought I was going to break a finger clicking the accept button.
Wait, who was it again? I'm sorry.
It was Logan Gilbert for Jose Abreu, and
I slammed that.
I just seriously thought I was going to hurt myself with how quickly I accepted that.
Yeah, I would slam that. I'm kind of surprised.
It was way out of left field too, because I was trying to work on a deal with Ruvain Guy to trade Jose Abreu for pitching, and I would have accepted much less. I mean, I would have accepted just about anything to get Jose Abreu off my team and get some pitching added.
I'm really surprised by that. But hey,
this is why you should always talk to someone before you send a trade offer. Just check in, be like, hey, what are you thinking? Because I don't even know who else is on this guy's team, but he probably could have given me like a bum reliever and I would have taken it.
Mm-hmm. And this is why our buddy Ian Kahn is so good at this. He loves getting on the horn and having a real chat with folks, and that's how he gets great trades. He has a conversation with somebody. So,
yeah,
yeah, man, Abreu. I'm at a loss with him, and I really don't blame people because in 10s and 12s, right? You got to play the hot hands, so you got to be a lot quicker on making moves, even on somebody like Abreu that you drafted relatively high, because the talent levels aren't that different. You can find 10 Abreu-like players on the wire. And so it's not about having that talent. It's about who's playing up to that level or higher in the moment. So you have to keep burning and churning, which is why I'm not very good at 10s and 12s, because I don't like to do that. It's harder to play small samples.
Me too.
So I find it difficult. A few more guys here on the shallow end. Spencer Steer getting picked up probably for the big Coors week. I mentioned him earlier when we were talking about the Reds. I feel like he's been fine. He's been about a league average bat with 5 homers. Do you feel like you're getting what you thought out of Steer if you have him anywhere?
Yeah, and he started off slow. He's starting to pick it up a little bit. So I think Steer is fine. I think the only question becomes, like, if they do decide a youth movement is coming, does Steer lose out on playing
Does he
time?
take the hit? Yeah.
Yeah. So
and in that case, trade him or something.
Yeah, but I also think that, like, they've got other guys, you know, like Will Myers could get DFA'd. Like that, like,
You're
I
not
mean,
wrong.
if he continues to struggle, yeah. Especially because they have a mutual option for next year, so they can just be like, no, we're not touching that. We
were never going to take it anyway.
Yeah.
By the way, they got Encarnacion Strand and Steer for Molly, and Steve Hajar, who's not a nothing prospect there. I know it's a double negative, but they did really well on that deal. And unfortunately, the Twins were doing well on it. It was a nice little win-win, but now Molly, of course, being hurt sucks. Let's talk a few pitchers. Dane Dunning, I think he was picked up more in the deep leagues last week, so this week he's picked up on a 2-step. This is one of those guys that, like, despite what the numbers say, which they're not particularly spicy, I still like Dane Dunning.
I love Dane Dunning.
Yeah,
the numbers
we talked about him
good.
on the 2-step, so I don't want to go too deep here because we did talk about him on the 2-step pod. But were you picking him up anywhere this weekend?
I did. I streamed him in a couple leagues. I'm a little afraid of that Atlanta matchup.
Yeah, that's the first one.
But Atlanta actually hasn't been that good against right-handed pitching.
Okay.
So, like, did a lot of damage. Like, I'm
starting him.
I'm kind of closing my eyes and hoping.
Yeah.
You know,
I think you hold your nose and go for Dunning. Oh, it's not a 2-step anymore, though.
What?
That's right.
Oh, no.
They're starting this Cody Bradford guy today on a spot start, which pushes Dunning to Tuesday, and then it's going to be Eovaldi, day off, Perez, Gray, Heaney, and then 2-step next week.
So
Pitt at Baltimore. It's actually better, but he only gets Atlanta this week.
Well, I might actually take him out of my lineup then.
I don't blame you because you're only getting Atlanta this week for Dunning, but then next week you get at Pitt, at Baltimore.
Yeah, okay. I'm glad you said that because I think I will probably take. I got to double check to see where exactly I have him. It's an OC, so I think I probably will take him out of my lineup real quick and put someone else in. So, but next week, hey, there you go. If you picked him up this week for 2-step, you get a better 2-step next week.
Yeah, I think. Where Dunning is still available, you park him right now. You skip the Atlanta start, but you park him for at Baltimore, at Pittsburgh. That's a nice little 2-step. And again, I like him. I think he's a good pitcher. He got a little bit of that dog in him too.
I got a conundrum actually. So
let's hear it.
Do I want to do Dane Dunning versus
Dane Cook?
Well, is they just skipping him or?
Who?
Because right now,
they're moving him to Tuesday.
They're pushing NFBC has him still with the Colorado start, but not with the.
No, they're just moving him to tomorrow. And I'm looking at RotoWire, and they put a guy in bold when it's set, and they have Bradford in bold for today and Dunning in bold for tomorrow. So word on the street is that it's just being pushed to tomorrow for Dane Dunning. Let me check Twitter. We can usually get some decent news. Yeah. Evan Grant,
from
the Dallas Morning News, says it's just
all right. So
being
it's
moved back a day.
For me, it's either Dunning versus Atlanta, or Clark Schmitt in Cincinnati, or Hayden Wesneski in Philadelphia.
Oh, that guy.
I think I'm sticking with Dunning, I
I
guess.
think you might, man. I know that seems crazy. I wanted Wisniewski to be good so badly, and it's
I did
just
too,
not
because
happening,
I
dude.
spent a lot of money on him, but
And you got a 7 bomb off rip, 4 homers.
mhm.
Um, it was
Maybe I could
Wisniewski, Schmitt,
Clark
and
Schmidt in Cincinnati.
I don't know about that, man. He's a home run guy too.
Yeah, I think I'm sticking with it. All right.
Yeah, stick with Dunning. All right. What about Ranger Suarez? Took Matt
Mm-hmm.
Strom's spot. Pardon me. Had a hiccup there. Are you back in on Suarez now that he's back? I say back in meaning picking him up. I don't know if you were in or out on
Yeah.
him before he got hurt. But what do you think of Ranger Suarez?
Yeah, he was one of the other guys I picked up in my main event. Surprisingly, I got him for like $37. I was pretty stoked with that, considering the state of starting pitching on the wire in 15-team leagues.
Agreed.
But
Yeah, he wasn't too bad in Colorado. 4 innings, 3 runs in his first start back from the IL. I call that pretty decent, personally.
yeah, that's totally fine. I wonder if maybe maybe because it wasn't like a premier start against a bad team, but it was in Colorado.
Yeah.
And he was very good in his rehab work. 9 total innings, 5 strikeouts. It's not gonna get you a ton of strikeouts, right? But good ratios on a good team that should win games for him. So, yeah, I like Ranger Suarez a lot.
Yep, Suarez co-signed there. If he was available, go ahead and get him. And then the last one, Brayan Bello, who I don't think we've talked about in a while, has pretty much been good since that disastrous Patriots Day game. And I know there was really bad weather there, that maybe you can give him a little bit of a pass for it. It was a brutal start no matter how you slice it. But in the 4 since then, 3.48 ERA with 19 strikeouts and 20 2/3. Are you in on Bello and picking him up in shallow formats where available?
Well, with Paxton back, they're running a 6-man rotation.
Yeah.
What happens when Garrett Whitlock comes back?
Are we
Does
still
Bello go back to
should
the
we
minors?
still be rocking Kluber out there though?
I mean, I think they're gonna just because like he's Kluber.
Because he's Kluber.
I think they got to make a
Pivetta.
decision. I think they got to make a decision on whether Tanner Houck goes back to the bullpen or Bello goes back to the minors.
I think if you send Houck back to the bullpen this time, it has to be for good. You can't keep jerking him back and forth here. And he's been fine. He has one particularly bad blow-up outing with 6 earned, and then no more than 3 in any of his other 6 starts. What about Pivetta? Why not him? He's gotten paid $5.3 million this year.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they
That could be a
could.
reliever.
Yeah,
I don't see any reason that he has to get 33 starts again this year.
I don't either. But like, it's the Red Sox. I just don't know what to make of what the they've jerked around guys, and they have these guys that are really interesting talents in Whitlock and in Houck that they've decided to block off with the Corey Klubers of the world. So, I mean, this could obviously all get worked itself out, like because everybody in this rotation has injury concerns. So maybe it's a non-issue by the time we get to the point where Whitlock is actually ready to come back, but he's on rehab right now.
Yeah.
And so I do worry that when he's back, Bello goes back down.
I can totally see that. You starting Bello for Seattle this week at home, where you have him. If you have, I'm not saying you actually have him, but
I don't have him anywhere.
Me neither.
I don't think I am. Seattle's pretty good against righties.
So then, if you're not doing that, then you're not starting him at the Angels next week either, because they're way better against righties. So I think Bello, if you pick him up to stash him or whatever, because you're trying to spike something, because he's been good the last 4, that's fine. Keep expectations low and the bid's even lower. I can't pay too much for him right now. All right, let's talk a few closers in our little closer corner here to finish off. Dylan Floro. AJ Puck went to the IL, so Dylan Floro could be the guy in Miami. It could be Brian Harvey.
Scott.
It could be Tanner
Matt
Harvey.
Barnes.
It could be, I'm trying to think of old closers that they had. Brian Harvey was the only one I could think of. But yeah, Tanner Scott, excuse me. Huascar Brazaban has actually been pitching pretty well for them. I don't know who that guy is, if I'm being 100% honest. He's a 30
Congressman.
Journeyman, not a congressman. He did cut his walk rate in half this year, so he's looked pretty nice. Throws 96. Are you getting into this Miami bullpen and Floro specifically because he was the most picked up guy in shallow and deep leagues? What do you think?
I took some gambles on Tanner Scott, but and I think I took like one gamble on Matt Barnes somewhere, only because Floro wasn't available in any league where I was at. I think Floro is the logical next man up. He's got experience. He was their most recent closer. But I mean, I think this could be a shared situation. It could bounce around. I'm just bummed that AJ Puck got hurt. Like I knew like it was obviously well within the range of possibilities, and I enjoyed it while it lasted. He was my third closer on my main event team, or actually my second closer, but now becomes my third closer on my bench. It's just a bummer to see a talented guy like that not be able to stay healthy. So, we'll see if it's Tommy John or not, but it sure feels that way.
I hope not, man. That's such a freaking bummer with AJ Puck. Health has been such a big problem for him, and here we are again. But yeah, Dylan Floro, Tanner Scott, other guys. What about Miguel Castro in Arizona? Looks like he might be ascending to this role. It's been wide open pretty much all year. People were going with Mr. Magoo, Scott Magoo. You called him Mr. Magoo one night and made me laugh.
I love it.
Hard at
yeah.
That. Andrew Chafin, no one's really ascended to this role, and now here's Miguel Castro, who's always been a really live arm, but never really had crazy good results. He's doing well right now. Looks like he might have the job. He has 2 saves. Was Miguel Castro on your radar?
He was off my radar, and I wish he wasn't because I actually dropped him in a league where I probably should have kept him, which is a huge bummer. I mean, I've got plenty of saves in that league, so it's not like a huge issue for me, but I could have traded him if he did become the closer or traded one of my other closers because it is a trading league in Tout Wars. So yeah, a huge bummer and just a complete misstep. Fab was on Mother's Day, and I just wasn't really paying close enough attention because I was trying to pay attention to my wife and stuff. So it teaches me a lesson. Don't pay attention to my wife. Pay attention to fantasy baseball. And I won't make that mistake again. I love what he's doing. He's sacrificing some of the swing and miss strikeout stuff to make sure he's not walking the yard. So he's trying to harness his stuff, and it's working really, really well for him. But yeah, I mean, I think he definitely has the talent to take over this role full time and hold it rest of the way. I think the only question becomes if the Diamondbacks are competitive towards the trade deadline, do they make a deal to bring in like a capital C closer? But that's an issue for later. You're picking a guy off the waiver wire. If you get 10 saves from him between now and the end of July or 15 saves, yeah, it's totally worth it.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. Miguel Castro looking like the guy, at least right now, in Arizona. Philly opened up because Jose Alvarado went on the IL. He was pitching the best out of that bullpen. Soto and Kimbrel were the guys getting picked up. Any love for the Philly bullpen right now? I know Sir Anthony Dominguez probably had some availability there too. I'll go ahead and throw him in the mix. Or do you think Strom losing his job to Suarez as a starter could be the guy to sneak there? He does have a save. He got a save recently.
I mean, I think they would probably want to keep Strom stretched out somewhat in case there's an injury and they need to go back into the rotation. So
tend to agree there, but he does have a 2-in-1 inning relief appearance since being moved.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they could. Maybe they just figure, if they need him to go back to being a starter, he did a good job just, randomly stretching out in a short period of time anyways. Luis Garcia, man, he is just hitting the ball. I love it.
Yeah, he is.
This is a nightmare situation. They've got like a million different
they've made it that way on purpose. Like they know that, hey, we've got options. We do not care to name anybody, and they're sticking to that.
Somebody asked me who's going to lead the team and saves rest of the way in my chat earlier today, and I said Kimbrel. I don't feel good about it.
So that's where you're leaning though.
That is but I think he could lead the team in saves with like a freaking 5 ERA. I mean,
true. It's at 6 right now.
So. And he would only lead the team. He'd only lead like the next guy by like 1 save. I think
exactly
everybody is getting a piece of this. I just don't. It's not a situation I want to be very invested in.
Nope.
I don't mind investing in the situation, but I don't want this to be the reason why I don't like get enough saves. Like if I
Yeah.
need a guy who's going to get me 20 saves the rest of the way, I'm going to go after Miguel Castro. If I need a guy who like I know is going to get me at least like 10, then probably going after Kimbrel, I guess.
I think that's fair. Soto, nothing for you. Sir Anthony.
I mean, I think Sir Anthony's the best of the pitchers. I just don't know that they care
I
that
agree.
much about putting him in the ninth.
Correct. I don't know if
I
they're
think
trying to put
he's
their
gonna.
best guy.
I think they're gonna play matchups every time, and so
Fully agree.
it's a crapshoot. Like it just.
Wandy Peralta, the lefty in New York for the Yankees, got 2 random saves this weekend, so that put him on the radar. Were you dipping into that at all with the kind of tumult in that bullpen? We talked about it last week with regards to Michael King. Wandy Peralta do anything for you, or were these just a couple of lefty saves?
No, I think it's just a couple lefty saves. I think this is another situation that's going to change hands until they trade for somebody. I think that if Ian Hamilton's going to get a couple saves and
Bring back Chapman. I'm just kidding.
They probably should.
No,
I know they
they're
won't,
not.
but
They'll get somebody else. They'd be more inclined to get Barlow than
yeah.
Chapman, I bet.
And right when I say what I said about Luis Garcia, he gets fucking picked off like a moron. Like just
we've
unreal.
seen 2 pickoffs. That's crazy, by the way.
To end the inning, both of them to end the
Yeah,
inning.
absolutely nuts. By the way, I will say the first save I'm looking at it right now was Brandon Lau to start, but then Harold Ramirez and Isaac Paredes, and then Manuel Margot pinch hit for Josh Lowe, and then the second save, which was these were Friday Saturday saves. Then that one for Wandy Peralta was against, Wander Francos, that's a switchy, Christian Bethencourt, Randy Rosarena, and then Brandon Lau at the end there. So those were not just lefty-based moves. They were just like, he's the best guy for this right now, and of those who are available. So
Which is interesting.
Out there.
Which is interesting, too, because none of the guys kind of in this committee had pitched the 2 previous days.
Yeah, so you could have...
Clay Holmes had come in and he got the win.
Okay.
And
then I think King got blasted earlier. In the first save for Peralta.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So
guys in earlier spots.
Yeah, I think this is just a mix and match kind of situation. Personally.
I gotta admit, I've talked about this. I'm a little bit. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say Peralta's the only lefty in the pen too.
Yeah,
so
that always works against. That's where the lefty bias generally comes from, right? The whole lefties can't close. It's not that they can't close; it's that you need a lefty for the key left-handed hitter on a team from the 6th inning on, basically, if a big spot comes up. So with him being the only one, that's a little dangerous. That's a little dangerous that they could use him as the closer. Moving on to our next guy here. I've admitted earlier on that I have got my saves pretty well covered for now. Don't curse me, fantasy gods. I'm just saying for right now. So I haven't been super keyed in on every bullpen and how things are faltering with closers to go get the next guy. I know the main guys, but I was like, oh, Nick Anderson's being picked back up, and you were like, that's because Iglesias got blasted twice in a row, giving up 2 runs on 3 hits in 2/3 of an inning in back-to-back starts. Those exact same stats. So people are going back to Nick Anderson. What do we think about that? Is he somebody you're going back to or going to?
Apologize to anybody watching the YouTube later because I'm not going to edit this out, but my computer just randomly cut itself off. So I apologize for that, and I will edit this out for anybody listening to it via the podcast. So Paul should be back here in a second, and we'll go in again.
Hello.
Hola. I have no idea what happened there.
I don't know.
Go ahead and just start it back
up. Live though at the same time.
Yeah, we're the video's still live. So
okay, great. Well, if you're watching this later on YouTube, Justin's power went out real quick, and we're gonna fire back up. He can edit it in the pod. So if you listen to the pod, you'll never know this happened. 3, 2, 1. One other guy that we looked at here. I've told you before during this season that I'm not always super engaged on everything that's going on with every closer right now because I haven't needed saves yet. Now, again, fantasy gods don't strike me down for saying that and kill my closers. But I didn't know why Nick Anderson was being picked back up. I'm like, Reisel's back. What's going on? You quickly alerted me that he's been getting blasted. Two runs on 3 hits in 2/3 of an inning twice in a row for him. So people are going back to the Nick Anderson well because he's looked wonderful, and health has really been the only issue he's ever had. Talent is unquestioned. Is Nick Anderson somebody that you're looking back at thinking maybe I should scoop him in case Raisel is still murked?
Yeah, I mean, this is the big concern. It was one of the reasons, like, I was big on Raisel Iglesias during, like, the early draft season, but then as soon as he got hurt, he came off of my boards. And I know a lot of people went and picked him up for cheap, at the end of drafts and, cheap for auctions because they were like, oh, well, I'm getting a discount. He's only going to be out a few weeks. That's if he's healthy. And I just don't think he's healthy. I don't know if Nick Anderson's going to be the guy, though, for sure. I mean, Minter was the guy prior to the injury. I know he had some struggles, but he seemingly has turned it around. So I think they'd go back to Minter. I think Minter's the guy I'd try to grab right now.
Yeah, I know he's had some struggles recently, but he doesn't have the lefty issue. I don't know. It's tough. And obviously, what are you doing if you have Iglesias? Are you going to get these guys? Are you just riding with your guy? Like, do you like to do handcuffs if your guy's struggling? How do you approach that when you have what is supposed to be an ace closer who is faltering a little bit, especially due to injury issues?
I think you have to be grabbing Nick Anderson or Minter or both and trying to just hope that, if Iglesias turns around, you can go back and drop those guys. But if you invested in Raisel Iglesias, you were expecting 30 saves. And you can't afford to not have, those brave saves. So I think you've got a handcuff right now if you have Iglesias, whether that's trading for a guy like Nick Anderson or picking up a guy like Nick Anderson. You're not going to be able to replace those 30 saves real easily off the wire. So, worst case scenario is you give up a little bit and then you cut it later. But, best case scenario, right? I guess best case scenario is if Iglesias goes down again, like it looks like he might need to, then at least you've got the backup.
Yeah. No, I think that's the case. And yeah, once the season gets started, I don't necessarily draft handcuffs. Once the season gets started, if my guy's looking like there's going to be some trouble, I'm jumping on the potential next.
I draft other people's handcuffs. I have no problem doing that. But I don't tend to draft my own.
Get into a different bullpen, right?
You pay these prices on
the thinking there.
You pay these prices on guys like Iglesias because you think that you don't need to worry about drafting a handcuff, right?
Exactly. But sometimes injuries happen, and then there's performance issues when they come back from that. Last guy, Kendall Graveman, probably a short-term situation because, of course, everyone's eagerly awaiting the return of Liam Hendricks. we know that Raylo. We think we both. I don't even know if you had him. You're not a huge Raylo guy, but I cut him. I moved on. Graveman is the guy that people are looking at until Hendricks gets back. Are you even taking the temporary chance on Graveman, thinking maybe because if Hendricks isn't good to go, he would still be available?
No, I think Hendricks going to be back very, very soon. I expect Hendricks to be back in the next 2 weeks, so I wasn't even worrying about like picking up Graveman to try to sneak maybe a few saves in. I'm just waiting on Hendricks.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, Graveman wasn't expensive, so I think that's good. But anyway, that's it for the closer's corner. Floro. How about this? Your favorite in shallow leagues where most of these guys are available. Floro, Castro, the Philly guys, Wander, Anderson. Throw Minter in there because you liked him, and Graveman. Who would you go for the most?
I think it's Castro. Like I mean, and it really burns me because, like I said, I dropped him in a league. But I think he's got the clearest path to a long-term role.
Yeah. I think so too, because he could take the thing is too with relievers, they're often like a tweak from being a god, right? If they find the right tweak to really let him get into the stuff that Miguel Castro's flashed at times, he could be the unquestioned dude. But we'll see. Anyway, that's the week eight key pickups. Good luck this week. Hopefully you continue to do well, and I continue my slow journey back up the hill.
Somehow Patrick Corbin hasn't like destroyed me. So
hey,
let's go.
And now he has a 5-1 lead. If he can just get through, oh no, he's through 5.
He's through 5.
Like, is he at 74 pitches? So they'll probably bring him out next inning, but hopefully he just gets it done.
I'm gonna knock on some wood real quick and hope that I didn't
just
jinx the hell out of him. Yeah,
you might have though. You opened your pig mouth. Anyway, have a good one. I'll talk to you later.
Take it easy.